Welcome to the Orchard podcast series, the LIS Connection. My name is Ken Dawson, and I'm the manager of customer advocacy at Orchard Software. The episode today is entitled Superior LIS Support, and the focus today is on Orchard Software's customer care program. We're here at Jefferson City Medical Group, JCMG, here in Jefferson City, Missouri. Our guest today is Aaron Hendrickson, Chief Information Officer. Aaron, we're extremely excited to be here today. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Jefferson City Medical Group, JCMG, has been a partner with Orchard for more than 20 years. During that time, during that 20-year period, we've seen so many changes in healthcare. Healthcare technology, lab tests, everything under the sun, software solutions by the vendor, as well as just the sheer complexity of the laboratory solutions offered. And the regulatory changes on top of that seem to change sometimes daily, that you've got to stay on top of. One of the challenges that labs continue to face is staffing. And with that, and that's not unique to JCMG, that's really anywhere labs have staffing challenges. And so what's left? You have to increase efficiencies, increase throughput and volumes. So one of the advantages, though, that we want to talk about today is Orchard's customer care program. So Aaron, but before all of that, why don't you start with a background of JCMG, local community involvement, your organization, and services that you offer to the local community.
Sure, Ken. So Jefferson City Medical Group, JCMG, we are a physician-owned, independent, multi-specialty ambulatory healthcare provider in Jefferson City, Missouri. We are the largest independent healthcare group in mid-Missouri. So by remaining independent of larger healthcare systems, that's what allows JCMG to provide high quality, cost effective, patient-centered healthcare to mid-Missouri and our patients. We have over 100 plus providers across 30 different specialties. We see 70,000 patients, which generates roughly 425,000 visits on an annual basis.
Wow.
So very, very busy group. JCMG offers a full service laboratory, including a comprehensive menu of routine and specialty testing. Our lab has partnered with reference labs in the local area that provide access to all testing needs for the patients. So it's not just limited to what is in our lab's testing capabilities. We can go outside of our facility as well. That results in convenient local access that supports JCMG providers as well as other healthcare entities serving our region and those patients. So
absolutely, and being from Missouri myself, not too far away from here, I love the community involvement. As you described, JCMG is doing some extremely exciting things with the local community and beyond, and really, as we'll get into here in a little bit, JCMG and the great things you've done is really the differentiator of services. Mm-hmm. And so that's certainly of benefit to you all in all key performance indicators. So that's wonderful. And then, of course, most importantly is patient satisfaction, patient safety. So thanks for the background. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So next, getting into the relationship with Orchard Software. If you could tell us just a bit about Orchard, about your relationship with Orchard Software and how that partnership has been from your perspective.
Sure, Ken. So as you said earlier, JCMG has been partnered with Orchard for over 20 years, and that relationship has grown stronger. Thank you, in part to you in this customer advocacy program. Sure. I've been with JCMG for about 8 years now. Orchard LIS software was already in this facility when I started. So I've definitely been part of the growth and seen this partnership evolve over time, right? You and I first met and we started working on this.
Sure.
And it's been a great relationship.
Great. Appreciate it.
So Orchard's LIS integrated system, you guys have provided the resources and the technical support needed in order for our lab to continuously improve and continuously grow. And I think that speaks to the program and speaks to the relationship. Our relationship, so JCMG and Orchard's relationship, has elements of a healthy partnership. We have a true commitment to each other. We have mutual accountability and respect for each other. We have clear set expectations of what we expect from each other as we work as a partnership to continuously improve. And most importantly, we have an action plan for continuous improvement. And I felt like that was one of the good parts or the greatest parts about the customer advocacy program when you brought this to us was your willingness to help us improve and make our systems more efficient.
Right.
And you guys have done a fabulous job with that.
That's great. Thank you, Aaron. That's humbling, but thank you very much. And I do remember our first conversation, almost maybe not quite a year ago. It's coming up on a year, but and that was your statement to me that I'll never forget is that you want to make JCMG a better place for the lab. And Orchard Software prides itself on really listening to the customer's voice. And I know that's what drives me. What drives me is what sort of advocacy programs can we offer, hopefully proactively, be involved shoulder to shoulder partnership with our customers, because it's all about that one patient and the community, that one patient that's coming in for a lab. They're nervous already. And, we'll talk about wait times in a little bit, but even more so after the labs are drawn, the patients are a little nervous sometimes with the results that could come back. Mm-hmm. And so what JCMG has done is remarkable over the last year, 2 years, just since several months ago, a couple of years ago. And what's exciting for me, it's to be a part of that, on the periphery. And what I've always said is that software solutions come and go. There's always different revisions. Some software solutions sunset. So there's always something changing in software. However, the one constant that must never change, in my opinion, is the service and the support that vendors provide to customers. And so what Orchard Software has done is we've developed this customer advocacy program to do just that, is to support customers at a different level. So I appreciate your comments. I know I have, and just like Orchard Software, we've appreciated very much the partnership over the years. In fact, if I think about it, I believe Jefferson City and Orchard had the same founding date, 1993.
That's correct.
So that was kind of a neat thing. And not only that, but you and I have the same alma mater.
That was correct.
Yes. So we little did we know, we had a couple of things in common even before we met.
Right.
That's true. That's fun.
Yeah.
But more recently here, like I mentioned over the last year or so, JCMG's been able to take advantage of the customer care or customer advocacy program. And as a bit of background for our listeners, Orchard's customer care team provides an added layer of proactive oversight for customers that might be experiencing very specific challenges. And Aaron, as you know, we work closely together on an extremely important interface project with your EHR vendor. And if you don't mind, tell me more about that experience and how customer care's involvement contributed to the eventual outcome.
Sure, yeah. So the customer advocacy program and having you, Ken, alongside us has been a huge benefit. You've been able to engage your team in order to help with that project and allocate resources where needed in order to make this happen. So that's kind of going above and beyond kind of the typical support level when you deal with software companies, right? So the project that we were engaged in, we were focused on our patient satisfaction. We were focused on our employee satisfaction when it came to the lab. So for our end users, right, it's the using of the Orchard LIS system. Right. To our patients, it's the quality, the level of care that we're giving, the experience that they have when they come into our lab, right? So this customer advocacy program definitely helped us with focusing on streamlining that interface, right, between Orchard LIS system and EHR to create efficiencies, sure. Right? So that oversight program played an instrumental role in that, which resulted in a more efficient process for JCMG staff, and it created patient satisfaction as well. We saw an average wait time go from 45 minutes when the patient presented to the lab down to 5 minutes.
That's nuts.
Right?
That's
so
fantastic.
That's just how much quicker and how much more efficient the interface is working today versus prior to the reconfig and the customer advocacy program. Right?
Congratulations. That's incredible results.
Amazing.
That's great.
Amazing. We also saw about a 10% increase in volumes internally, and we saw about a 300% increase in volumes coming from outside facilities, outside healthcare providers, right. Bringing their lab orders into our facility and having this test done here. Sure. And that just really speaks wonders to the work that we've done together and what we've been able to accomplish. There's good positive outcomes there, and our patients are definitely satisfied by the change.
Well, that's great results. And thank you for sharing. It's so special. And I hope JCMG takes a breath for a minute and really realizes how proud JCMG should be of those accomplishments, because like you said, it does matter. What you did does matter to patient satisfaction. Right. And then the JCMG business taking on volumes, it hits all the KPIs. Yeah. And just wonderful things for the community. And again, in my mind, that one patient that doesn't have to wait when they present, 45 minutes down to 5, right, and getting the results out quicker from those tests is very special with what JCMG is doing for the community. So congratulations again.
Yeah, and you kind of said, you're talking about it earlier about how, labs, staffing shortages, and staffing shortages have been prevalent throughout healthcare, not just in the lab and other areas as well. But having a software or like Orchard LIS and making it run efficiently is what helps the staff in their day to day, especially when you're short staffed. You're short staffed and you're having software issues all the time. Sure. That's just exacerbating the issue, right? It's making it worse. So by streamlining this, there's still staffing shortages, but at least we've got the software running optimally, right, for our end users, and the experience for our patients is good as well.
Right. And one has to hope, Aaron, I would think that when employee satisfaction increases, less turnover, happier at their jobs, turnaround times quicker and things like that. And it all gets back to improved patient satisfaction and greater results for JCMG. Plus, your staff is growing as well. And so that's always exciting when you see staff grow, and especially all the business KPIs that things like this meet.
Yeah, and we have such a busy lab. I mean, we have to be efficient, right? Sure. I mean, kudos to our lab team and what they do, because they are extremely busy. They process a lot of patients on a daily basis. So we have to be efficient, and we got to give them a software that helps them get through their day to day.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And the support that goes around it.
Exactly.
So should some issue occur at whatever level, we pride ourselves on our support organization, but then, as we mentioned before, customer advocacy is just an added layer.
Right.
Someone to call. And the great thing about Orchard is that the culture that we have there is that whenever the customer care team needs something, any action plan really is cross-departmental.
Mm.
And so we're the voice working with our customers to represent Orchard because we know what's at stake on the outcomes. So
yeah, very important. I mean, you have an important software system like the Orchard LIS. When the organization or customer is having problems, it is very important that your team is able to respond quickly in order to restore that system, get our lab staff back up and working right, and allow us to see patients as we should.
Right.
If that system were to be down for a long period of time, of course, that's creating inefficiencies,
Absolutely.
right? And our patients continue to wait. So it is very important, and we're happy that you guys are able to provide that level of support and keep the system, up and running on the 5 nines, like they like to say in IT, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and with support at that level, there's a difference between having a relationship and a partnership.
Yeah.
So the way I've always thought of it is, contracts are signed, you have a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Then over time, what needs to happen is that relationship needs to grow into a true partnership.
Mm-hmm.
As you said better than I, where we have clear expectations of one another. We work together through tough times, good times, things. We work through things together, but it's a partnership.
Right.
And that's what is so special to me and across our company at Orchard Software. So thank you. Thank you once again. So with that initiative, I remember it well, and I was glad to be a part of it. And our goal, again, for our listeners is to maximize the Orchard investment that our customers have made and to really create that long-standing partnership. So once again, I'm glad that your experience has been positive. And it makes me think of another question, Aaron. With all of the other vendors that you work with, and there are many, there surely has to be many, do any of those other vendors have either a customer advocacy or a customer care type team that you're aware of?
Yeah, great question, Ken. I have worked with a lot of other companies, a lot of other vendors, but they don't have a similar program to what you're bringing in the customer advocacy program. But as my role as a CIO, or in my role as a CIO, and working with a lot of different software vendors and hardware vendors, cover a wide variety of software, all different types and so forth, right? Those solutions are currently in place today at JCMG, but this type of program hasn't existed, for those solutions. Most software companies or vendors that I deal with today is, it's just, the relationship is, you buy the product, and outside of that, you're reaching out to support, right?
Sure.
There's not really anybody from the software companies or vendors coming and advocating for JCMG, right? Coming and wanting to create efficiencies or wanting to, look through the software to make sure that we're using it appropriately.
Sure.
Which, when you came to us with the customer advocacy program, that was one of the first things we talked about, right?
Right.
We talked
Sure
about,
was.
okay, we've had Orchard LIS for 20 years.
Yeah.
How do we go back and look at Orchard software and find out, what could we do better? What could we reconfigure in order to make it better, right?
For sure.
So I don't have that experience with anybody else currently at this time. But I will say, the type of program that you've brought forward, customer advocacy program, is essential to a healthy relationship, right? As a vendor-customer relationship, we want to know that you're going to stand behind the product, right? We don't want to just sign a contract, as you were talking earlier, right?
Right.
We exchange monetary funds, and then away goes that software vendor, right? And you never really hear from them ever again. And you're stuck reaching out to tech support. And sometimes that can be very tedious and time consuming if you're not getting the response times that you expect, right?
Sure.
And you've been a great advocate for making sure that, SLAs are met, and tickets are getting turned around in an efficient time frame, right? And that's important because that's the type of customer level experience or customer tech support that we expect.
Sure.
In order to operate efficiently.
Absolutely. And when I interviewed at Orchard Software, I remember like it was yesterday, the first question I asked was about the culture of the company. And I cherish internal partnerships to get things done for our customers. And it still rings true today that I'm impressed with that culture. And so when you mentioned the support organization and placing tickets and the SLAs and things, support takes great pride in working cross-departmentally, training the staff to make sure that those SLAs are met, but in a quality way. Mm-hmm. And so I work very closely, the advocacy team works very closely with support, and it's certainly our pleasure to offer that level of support to JCMG and others.
Yeah, I can't say, I couldn't be more excited that you've laid this groundwork for what is creating a positive customer experience for us, which benefits JCMG because that creates a positive patient experience.
You bet.
So I couldn't be more happier.
That's great. And I'm thrilled. And we've talked about it several times. And I love working with JCMG and you and the lab team and all the walkthroughs that we've done. And it's just a very special place, JCMG. And I've appreciated it very much in our time that we've had together. So again, for our listeners, our intent with the customer care program, as Aaron mentioned, is to enhance the overall customer experience with Orchard Software and to help them gain better use of their LIS solution. Aaron, if you don't mind, again, tell me your thoughts on how customer care's engagement has influenced your ability to leverage that LIS. We've talked about it some so far, but to leverage that LIS solution to meet your lab goals. And overall, as a wrap up, what has your overall experience been working with the Orchard customer care team?
Yeah, so I think it's been, both a refreshing and positive approach to building our relationship, our customer vendor relationship. The advocate relationship has not only enhanced our customer experience, but it's also encouraging a personal approach that really makes you feel like you are no longer just a ticket, right? When you're dealing with help desk or SLAs, you're always submitting tickets. You're just kind of like another number, right? Sure. This takes that away, and it shows the partnership that we've been able to build, Orchard LIS and JCMG. I think it's definitely gotten stronger. It continues to grow, and I think there's a lot more positive things that are going to come out of this in the future.
I do too. I see bright roads ahead. The partnership is just going to grow stronger, and quite honestly, customer for life, right? So that's always the goal, and relationships grow into partnerships, and it has to be more than name, rank, serial number in a relationship. And if that's all it is, the partnership never blossoms the way it should.
Yep.
And so I appreciate those comments, Aaron, very, very much.
Yeah, I would say, software typically has a life cycle, right? And
Sure does.
and in my career, I can't say that I've seen a lot of software stick around for 20 years.
Sure.
So I think that also kind of says to what this relationship has been, that Orchard has continued to provide a healthy relationship and partnership to JCMG, and now it's going even stronger. Because when those relationships aren't there, that's typically when people go to market, right? And they start looking for other solutions.
That's exactly right.
And I just don't typically see solutions stick around for 20 years. So I think that really says something to the level of partnership that's here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. So as a wrap up, Aaron, truly thanks again for your time. I know you're busy, to say the least. Your lab is always very busy, but from my heart, I appreciate it every time I get to come up here, and especially today, just sitting across from you, having a conversation about your background, JCMG's background, and just the tremendous things JCMG is doing in the local community. Very exciting. And again, congratulations to you, to JCMG and the lab team for just the incredible amount of work and results that you all have realized. So wrapping up again, for our listeners, if you have any questions at all on anything that was talked about or otherwise, please reach out to Orchard Software at 1-800-856-1948 or on the web at www.orchardsoft.com. Again, if you have any questions, we'd love to speak with you. And stay tuned for our next episode in the LIS Connection Podcast. So additional episodes will include things like cloud hosting your LIS, as well as implementation ideas and more. Thank you very much for listening to the LIS Connection.